Thank you. Greetings, Douglas County citizens. My name is Kelly Robinson. I'm Vice Chair of the Board of Commissioners and Chair of the Finance Committee. This is the June 21st, 2022 meeting of the Finance Committee. And we've got an agenda, pretty full agenda this morning or this afternoon. And so I'm going to start with roll call to make sure that we have established a quorum. I myself, Kelly Robinson, I'm here present. Madam Geyer, are you here present to conduct the business of the people?
Yes, I am.
All right. Deputy County Administrator Fred Perry, are you here ready to conduct the business of the people? All right. And finally, Rosalind Miller, Interim Director of Finance, are you ready to conduct the business of the people?
Present.
We have a fifth member. Is Tiffany Stewart Stanley here? She is not.
I am here, Vice Chair. I'm just going to listen.
All right, that's fine. All right, so we have a full House 5 member committee, and so we are ready to go with business of the people. Rosalind Miller, can you go ahead and kick us off, please? First order of business, which should be the meeting minutes from our last meeting.
That is correct, sir. It's for the minutes from the May 16th meeting.
Hopefully everyone has received it. It's at least prior to today, or at least today, the meeting minutes from May 16, 2022. If there's no edits, deletions, amendments to it, we're going to allow them to stand as presented by our finance director. No objections, then it stands as read into record. All right, first item of business, Rosalind.
The first item is a presentation, and it's for SPLOST update.
Who's conducting that for us?
I'm not sure. I think that you've asked David Good just to provide some info, or are we still, this was of last week of the item of SPLOST update. That's the only item for presentation that I have for today is that, and then of course the
report.
Yeah.
And I think that was more of a placeholder. If in fact the board chose to go in a certain direction,
okay.
I think we're fine for right now. We won't belabor it. The board agreed to come back at our next work session when we have all members, and we'll deal with it then. So it's just a placeholder. Let it go. Okay. So there's no action need to be done on this particular one.
That is correct.
All right. Let's go into our next item then. No action.
The next item is the financial report for, can you see my screen?
Well, let me take, let me take a pause. Let me back up to Madam Geyer. I'm going to go back to what's your lean as relates to SPLOST only, continuing, SPLOST, T-SPLOST? What are your thoughts?
Sorry, you broke up when you asked me that.
Yeah, I said, yeah, you know, we were talking earlier today, and again, this topic that we just had was if the board wanted us to go do something, but they didn't. But still, as the Finance Committee Chair and Vice Chair, I'm curious to say we had a conversation regarding the continuance of a SPLOST. Don't really care about the categories or not. And we know there's a big need. So you got SPLOST only, or you got SPLOST plus a T-SPLOST. What is your lean today? And there's no commitment because we're not making any recommendation out of this. It's going to be full board conversation. But what's your thoughts? You think we?
SPLOST only. I think SPLOST only because I think you're overburdening the people. I mean, we're going into recession, you know, so we already are on the edge already. So we don't know what's going to happen. There's going to be all kinds of, there's going to be brownouts and food shortages. I forgot how many food processing plants have burned recently. And so that's going to affect the 3,000 cows in Kansas died just all of a sudden, just died. There's something going on that is cannot be seen from the eye with the eye right now. So I would just recommend the SPOS.
Gotcha. And again, I sort of weighed in from a District 2, which is like, well, we'll survive it, but how hard does the board want to push? There's a need, and the public knows it. And so the question is it right now? Do you shotgun it, or do you tier it? And so we know there's a need. We know there's a backup that we haven't really taken care of. But how much is much, and is it right now? It's time to throttle. And so we'll see what everybody has to say. I'll leave it at that. I was just curious on what you thought. I've already weighed in earlier as far as what my, I'm like, I would lean toward, okay, if y'all gonna do it, do it. But don't hem and haw. I know I'm always consistent, don't hem and haw. If you're gonna play big, play big. But you're gonna have to own this. So thank you for your input. You and I ain't debating on this. I think we're probably more on the same page, but we'll see what everybody else does. So let's not belabor it. Thank you so much for the input. So Rosalind, take us forward. Go through the report, please.
Okay. All right. Just provide you with the summary of May's report. For revenues, the revenues have increased by 6 million when you compare to 2021. Some of the areas that have increased that make up the 6 million is the taxes. We have the PAVT tax of an increase when comparing to last year of $164,000 more. Prior year taxes, we have more when comparing to last year, about 304,000, and then loss when comparing to last year, it's $1 million increase. Also, you'll see when we go further into the reports for other financing sources, you're going to see an increase of 3.9 million in other financing sources when you compare to 2021. And the 3.9 million represents the transfer in that we received from ARPA for the pay increases and the living wage initiative. Also for SPLOST, you'll see an increase. SPLOST revenue for May has increased by 310,000. Also, it equates to a 12% increase when comparing to 2021. The expenditures for May, it's still the trending for when you look at year to date, they are still trending under budget. However, some departments have one-time expenditures, meaning it's not a monthly expenditure, so therefore it's not spread out evenly. So for the month of May, they may look over, however, throughout the year, it will level out. This is a summary of the funds that I will go over. We have general fund, the unpaid, fire services, and animal control. You have the revenue, and then you have the expenditure. Also, this report will list the beginning fund balance and the ending. But for instance, for general fund, you'll see that there's a shortfall of 21.3 million. However, taxes, the property tax money does not come in, the revenue does not come in until towards the end of the year. So that 21 million shortfall, as the year moves on, the months and the years move on into, not years, but months. Once we get to the end of the year, you'll see that 21.3 will change to actual excess. And the same for the uninked fund, fire, and animal control. This section provides holding of funds or establishing restricted funds. So out of the $20 million that you see for general fund, there's a certain amount that is restricted, which is a list of these outstanding POs and other items. The capital, the 2022 capital reserve, and it lists an unassigned balance, meaning that this amount is available out of your fund balance, is available for operation, expenditures for operation. And it's the same for each fund. That's how much is unassigned that you have really to spend at this time in May. The next is general funds revenue. As I mentioned, if you can see the increase of when comparing to last year, you see an increase of $1.4 million. And again, the increase, the biggest increase is the loss when you're comparing with last year. The next section is grants. The next is charges for services. And if you look at the charges for services, you see there is an increase when comparing to last year, about $525,000. And the biggest increase is tree replacement fund. They're not fund, but fees. The next is your courts fees. And you see that court fees is actually it's under when comparing to last year, it's $138,000 less than last year.
Rosalind, why do you think it's under? Because we've been open.
It could be timing of the receipts that we received from the courts. So I would have to, because kind of looking at the state, the biggest, it looks like state court. So it could just be timing.
Well, we use the same time period per
Well,
year.
yeah, but it's
they were closed more last year. That's what has
And
anybody offered any kind of explanation why their revenue?
No, I'll take a look at it, but just when I mentioned timing, I mean when they provide the receipts to us, like maybe they were did not provide it in time of once we closed for May, and it would roll over to June. But I'll
We don't have any problem with them dispersing their funds.
That is correct. No, you're absolutely right on that. So I will check. I will check and provide an explanation of the decrease of 138 for all, because it looks like all courts there's like less. So I'll take a look at that.
Yeah,
I've made.
it just didn't make sense to me. But anyway, go ahead.
All right. Okay. All right. Next is just the use of property, and this is investments. It's interest earned off of checking account. The next is miscellaneous revenue. And the next is other financing sources. And as I mentioned, the 3.9, this is ARPA. And of course, last year did not have ARPA. So when you take a look at last year's of 17 million in revenue, and this year of 23, as I mentioned, the biggest variance is due to the ARPA. The next is, we're still in general fund, and the next is expenditure for, general fund. And you, if we're looking at the total government, general government, there is an increase of about 1.2, it looks like. And we created, you have to remember, we created the county administrator's office in, this year's budget. And then it looks like, increase in the tax office and also, the tax assessor and, of legal.
That, has anybody, wait a minute, has anybody talked with the assessor? I'm worried about getting the notices out on time, because that will delay payment.
I did, speak with him, and he said that he is on, schedule. And I know that, Tiffany has, she's organizing for us all to get together, and so therefore we'll be able to confirm and create a, calendar.
Well, he's behind his normal schedule, or the normal schedule, because they have to allow like 45 days appeal time and everything.
Right, but he stated that he's not going to affect the, at least he won't affect that deadline of the payment where, it'll change our cash flow. He stated he will be, on time.
Okay, he'll get them out by September 15th.
That is correct.
Okay.
To that point, Madam Dr., I did have a conversation with him last week, last Thursday or Friday, and this topic did come up. When will we know about the digest? And his commitment, just to me, and it's not like a vote, and I didn't bind him. His goal is to have it to us by the end of the month, or in time for our next work session, which means whatever the 30th falls on. So at that time, it's my understanding next Thursday, not this Thursday, next Thursday, he should be presenting to the board the digest. That's why I have no problem with expressing that publicly. So I look forward to him doing that. So, because I want to know what new growth was, what was inflation, all of these things, as we make our own individual decisions. So I'm gonna leave that at that. But glad you brought it up, because that was a trigger. Okay, Rawson, keep going. Keep us moving.
Okay. And, next we're in the, traditional, and again, we're in the expenditures, and if you're comparing, last year, you see that it has increased about $800,000. And it looks like, based off of really grant funds, you have your, felony drug court, and I know that they have received, additional grant funds that they did not receive last year. So therefore, their expenditures will be higher, but they do have max dollars of, revenue to offset. Next, you have, public safety. When you compare public safety from last year, it's an increase of about 1.4 million. And I know that their budget, was increased, and also, they just have more, their expenditures have increased due to, inflation too. But they are trending within budget. Next, you have public, works, and it's a decrease when comparing to last year. And they're also under, the budget target. You have health and welfare, and it's the same. They're under, compared to last year, and a little over, the target of the budget. But again, I believe when I was reviewing the expenditures, they were, one-time expenditures again. Next, we have parks and recreation. Um, when comparing to last year, they're up about 1.4, and they did receive their activity center has increased. They did add parks in this section. They had added a new park.
Rosalind, I've heard through the grapevine, everybody contacts me, unfortunately, that they're going to start charging the senior citizens for certain things. Have you heard anything, any talk about that?
No, I have not. So like a donut.
Like to rent the building for their dances, like they've had for years and stuff like that. They're going up.
New fees. I'm thinking wouldn't it come through the board of commissioners?
I don't know. I've heard other people are charging things that is not in the law, so I think I sent something to the chairman and asked her how they can determine on their own to raise fees or add a fee, not just this department, but another department. I don't think I ever received back, but vacations have hit. So.
Yeah, I can check with the director because I do have to call her this afternoon about.
Okay, I'd like to talk to her sometime.
We gotta, but you bring up a good point about again. We've talked about this, and this is not political, but there's inconsistency in our policies. And who is enlightened enough to be able to move, and those who don't, and it's harvested it organically or the garden grew. And again, right, you have this inconsistent empowerment that exists. Some directors are strong enough; they can move. They know how to make the system move. Some like, okay, tell them what to do. None of the code is really aligned. Nothing is across the board. But I appreciate your comment because, like, okay, as you know, we're going to draft one more toward this fall, draft one more legislation, and I need your way in, Madam Guy. Like, okay, so now, look, what do we need to really shape here, legislation-wise? That is going to bring a good yield to the citizens of Douglas County, and especially when you start talking about fees and fines. Like, okay, you can't just discretionarily do that now. You may be a director, but the board of commissioners is the highest governing authority.
Right.
And sometimes some people get a little empowered, like they feel like, you can't. So, but that's what I'm saying. Duly noted. I heard you. I'm paying attention. So, Rosalind, make a note of that. We'll take it offline. Follow up as Madam Goddard asked. But let's make sure I remember that as well, please. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Keep going. Yeah, keep going.
The next is planning and community development. Let's take a look at that. They are within their budget based off of trending. Their cost, or when comparing to last year, a little under about 91,000. I'm pretty sure it looks like Connect Douglas, but I'm pretty sure their expenditures, they definitely come one-time expenditures are one that hits a quarter. So I'm pretty sure that we will see their costs increasing. And it looks like they had a decrease about 200,000 when comparing to last year. And then economic development has increased, but they are allotment, meaning that they are paid quarterly. In overall total expenditures, if you look at last year, you're at 40.1 million, and for this year, 44.4 million. It's an increase of about $4.2 million. And again, and it's in Parks and Rec as I identified each section. All right, we're at our uninked revenue. It's comparing with last year's 1.7, this year 2.1, about $480,000 more, and it looks like it's in building permits are trending well for revenue. And then you have in your planning review fees also. So that contributes to the increase of revenues when comparing with last year. Expenditures, they are, you look at expenditures, it's about 19,000. They're really close from last year. And also they're trending under, but very close to last year. Okay, our next is we have fire protection services. Looking at the revenue, again, revenue for fire protection is really close with last year, when comparing with last year. Their expenditures are about 70, a difference, it looks like about 74 or 29,000, 74, yeah, about $74,000 difference in last year compared to last year. But they're trending under budget, about 4.8% under budget. And then we're at animal control. Revenue is in line with last year compared to last year. And expenditures over, when compared to last year, about 35,000. But yet they're trending under budget by 9.82%. As I mentioned, this is your loss trend, and then also SLOSS. Your loss overall compared when comparing how they're trending, it's about $1 million when comparing January through May. And the same with your SLOSS. So far, you're at 1.6 million over when comparing with last year. And the same with your looking at the I think what was mentioned was PAYGO, and it looks like we're at 35.4 million PAYGO. We got that in the bank. The next is the contingency fund.
Roslyn,
Yes.
at some point, that line of savvy needs to be a budget item.
Yes, if it's a one time, I'm not sure if this will be a cost for. Yeah, you're right. It would have should have been in a line item, budgeted in a line item. You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam
Yes.
Secretary.
Yes. But we started out, the contingency budget started out at 478,000. We have spent 294,000 of it. Remaining balance is 184,000. However, we do have outstanding encumbrance POs of 68,000. So if we minus the POs, we have a remaining balance of 116,000 available.
What? I'll come back later. I don't have to late right now. Keep going.
The next is the
Can I ask the question? Talking to myself, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Back up to that slide, up there in the contingency. The milling and paving at Creek Bend Overlook. We can't get our millings processed to use. So I don't know where they got the millings for this. Where's Creek Bend anyway?
I'm not sure. I may need some help on that to get more detail of that.
I've been told that we cannot get any of our millings processed this year. They cannot find anybody to grind them up where they're usable. So, and I'm asking, really, I need to switch that to calcium chloride. I've got Heath looking at that because we've got to do something with the dirt roads.
Bring it forth. I can support it. Bring it up tomorrow to transportation. Have you bring it up tomorrow, Madam Guider.
Okay, but how did they mill these? I just wonder. Because
yeah, we'll get the vendor and see. Evidently, the vendor was able, because that was actually services were provided. So that is actual check cut, so we can get the vendor's name and maybe
share it with Heath.
Okay, vendor. Okay. Sure.
All right, go on. I'm sorry.
No, we're fine. No, get your questions answered.
Yeah. Okay. The next was insurance fund, the healthcare fund. It's looking good, moving on. We have expenditures, they are actually under budget. This number should be, we should be spent about 42%, but we're at 35. And we have money going into fund balance. But, of course, this is based off of claims. So you never know how your claims, what claims will hit each month. But right now we're looking good in this fund. And that's all I have for May's reporting.
All right. Thank you for that. I want to come back to something since me and Guider are here from the 4th District. We did have a placeholder for it. The capital improvement plan. That there was the work that David Good had been advocating that those were comments from the board. That was imported over to sort of our master list that David Corbin is assembling for us. Director Miller, do you have access to that right now in this current draft form? I want to look at it right now as far as what have y'all got to date. What's on the list, and we need to see it so that we're prepared as we go into obviously further conversation regarding the SPOS. Can you show us what's currently on the capital improvement plan?
Yes. Again, it is in draft, and we're still.
It's okay. We're not being bound. I just want to see. We just want to see the names of what's on the list.
Okay, I can do that. Hold on.
Yeah. No, we're not binding y'all to estimates. Engineers have not done that. We're seasoned enough to know that. I just want to know. Let's go down the list, and that's all we're going to do. We're not going to take any action, but part of it is transparency. Part of it is the whole conversation. Like, okay, what's there? We got to share. So work with us. Thank you for that. I'm just going to share it with us. Ma'am God, are you okay with taking a look at this right now?
Yes. If I can read it. It's so little.
Can you see my screen?
I can see your screen. It's just teeny tiny.
Yeah, just blow up so you can see enough of what the project is. You may not get to the right, the far right columns, but We just want to read down what's on the list right now and what kind, how you have it organized. And this the top level, like okay, we have public safety. Well, what are the projects and how much money is? Because again, we did not aggregate. These are things that you have aggregated from stakeholders, meaning other elected officials. It's
Right,
just not
no,
about the thing.
well, no, it hasn't, but when you say other elected officials, their departments,
That's
but,
fine.
yeah,
We're fine. We're good.
yeah, we're just collecting, data, but again, all of the data, um, I guess I would feel more comfortable at another meeting when knowing, that you're, because we're collecting data, data is changing. I have departments emailing me saying amounts have changed. So if I could add this list at another meeting, and therefore I will have a cleaner list for you. Right now, what you have before you is our notes. We haven't met with all the departments, so some of the departments are on here, but this is our list. It will look like this.
Right. So
And as you see, we have notes.
right, but let me make the point. The board is about to make a major decision for the next 5 to 10 years. Y'all got to catch up then.
Yeah.
You got until next Thursday to have this list. No more, guys. We need the data now.
No, well, the SPLOST, yeah, for okay, let me show you.
This will drive that. This will drive that.
And I have moved if I can show something.
I mean, while you're doing that, to Madam Carthen's point, right? Okay, well, I understand in my mind, the waiting, she may need a little more clarity on the initiatives to sort of come to, she hasn't been here 3 times. So she's going to need some data and stuff. We know we're not going to bind ourselves to projects because they do change. They'll probably change before we can get to the referendum if we so choose. The point is, we need data. So if the board sits here and we're having these going around and around, but you ain't got no data.
Okay,
And so you got to give us you got to give us something to stand upon, at least in the background. So you got to match us with our decision making. Y'all don't drive our decision making. We drive where we like. It's the date now. Y'all got to meet us there, please. You can't come after that.
right. So hearing that during the meeting, I was moving the items. So the list that I showed you, is everybody, but I was copying and pasting and moving based off of what I heard this morning, based off of the categories. Again, this is in draft form. It's not, clean, but it is a list like for public safety.
All right, let's stay on public safety. Let's just do one sample. We'll give you room, but you can clean it up fine. We're not looking for a full presentation, but you got to give us some intelligence. You got to let us in on draft. So let's just go with public safety. Just talk about public safety since that seems to be the number one priority of the county. We'll just stay there. What's in public safety?
So when I, heard public safety, the only thing is the definition of public safety. Currently, I just have sheriff's office and fire and EMS. However, I did hear the coroner and I heard code enforcement. So just getting direction of what departments will fall under public safety. So I haven't added code enforcement or I haven't added the coroner's office. But again, I just have the sheriff's and fire and EMS.
All right, just stay with that, and that's okay. Just stay with what you have. No, we know it's moving. So you got fire and public safety. What are those buckets? That's worth the conversation. So what do you have in there so far?
Okay. So the total for public safety is 43.8 million. And the sheriff's office, I have a command center at 500,000. I have a construction of a driving course for 10 million. I have a fire suppression system at 100,000. jail security system at 3.5. I have a pistol replacement program at 60,000. SWAT team vest at 26,000. Vehicle replacement, 50 vehicles at 175. And then I have network switches at 500,000, which is a total for the sheriff's office 14.8 million. And then for the fire, we have a total of 29 million, and the 29 million makes up renovations for all stations at $9 million. We have new compliance replacement engine at 6 million. We have a breathing apparatus self-contained air system at 2 million. A new ambulance, three, I believe, at 3 million. We have renovations of office at 2 million. We have protected equipment at 3 million, and new classroom and training center at 4 million. Again, totals 29 million. So the 29 million plus the 14.8 million, public safety is $43.8 million.
Right. So just stay there. And again, as I stated, you have time to clean up the report based on the commissioner's comments, duly noted. But again, we've got less than a week or so to make a major decision. And to the extent that we can feed intelligence, the value of perfect information, get a little bit more information. So this is meaningful to the conversation earlier, Madam Guide. I mean, this right here, not that we would do it all, but I mean, that's half the 100 million right there. Right, and then you got transportation, which if you kept that equivalent, those two would take everything. Right, so that's why you got to spread it out and figure out what the priorities are. What I won't do though for these guys, and you need to make a note when you finalize that, they need to set their own priorities. So, Sheriff, you gave me a list. I'm just gonna go down the list and what the priorities are. But what I ain't gonna do is haggle over what your priorities should be. I think there should be some guidance that they should be able to provide us. That's for the chief as well. Like, and again, we can win. We know that. The point is, okay, God, give us some guidance now. Like, it's like the child with the wish list. Okay, the serious wish book, the Christmas list. Like, okay, you're not gonna fold it all you want to, fold the pages. You're not gonna get everything. What's your priority? What are the top things? And we'll see what we can do for it. So, Madam Guide, I just want to share that with us, give you some insight, get some insight myself. As you can see, I didn't even know, but I get a little bit more insight. Like, okay, now I get it. And again, you still got to pick a cutoff by way of percentages, and it's going to be what it's going to be, and let the people decide. And it's an easy decision for me. At the end of the day, the people will decide. I'm not burdening the people. If the people choose to have a SPLOS, and a T-spot, that's the people decide, not me. I will never withhold, because it's interesting how we get convenient when, oh, y'all don't listen to us, y'all don't listen to us. Okay, so now we listen. Weigh in, take the call. So either we do it, they can say do nothing, they can say do both, they can say do one. It's the people's decision. So I look forward to further conversation with this. I won't belabor this, Madam Guide, because I know we went long today. Good conversation, though. Is there anything else you want to say before we close this out?
I noticed on the list a training center or something for the fire and EMS. We've got so many empty rooms right now over at 911. We've got it over there at the transportation building that can be used for that. We don't need another $4 million building. So we need to look at using what we got too.
Yeah. So Rosin, I think also, like with the budget, I think there needs to be a scrub. I mean, usually the county administrator is responsible for the scrub. It's sort of like, okay, because again, we'll get through this. But make sure that some of that stuff on there looks like, okay, guys, especially direct stuff, like, okay, $4,000, that's not like a normal budget item. Like, what's the cutoff for? I know it's called capital, but we're looking for big ticket items. Some of that stuff that can be covered in an annual budget. So I'm looking also for that line of demarcation that says, okay, look, guys, we just gotta wait your turn, but I'm not gonna throw all this in that splosh. You can spread that thing out over other stuff. So anyway, you get it. All right. I'm not gonna take a loan out for a bike. You know, some of that stuff that you see there. But that's just a side note. Madam Guide, if there's nothing else that you want to say, Deputy, you out there?
I am.
Oh, my bad. You're listening to all this, man. We just
Yes, sir.
three little peas in the pod, man. I did not mean to not let you involved in the conversation, but you hear us. I know
Yes,
you're
sir.
following. Okay. All right. And we'll leave Madam ACA and let her read. All right, guys. If there's Director Miller, is that everything on the people's business for today's finance committee?
Yes, sir, that is it.
All right. With that, if there's nothing else that needs to come before us, guys, let's not belabor it. Good meeting. Sometimes you don't have to force conversation, and we'll just pick this back up next time. With that being said, let the June 21st, 2022 Finance Committee of the Douglas County Board of Commissioners be adjourned.